MyTechniqueStudios.com.
Real talk, tell me if it's true. I'm in the game, but I never wanna lose. When I'm running full speed, all I wanna do is cruise, cruise. All I wanna do is cruise. And I love the ride.
How's it going, everyone? Sean here from MyTechnique Studios. Now, this is a video on one of the free mixes I did. This is one of the winners for one of the months. I've been slacking on this. This is supposed to be from, was it February, I think? And yeah, we're coming up on May, so it's really behind. But the guy was really patient. I got him the mix a little while ago, but now finally putting out the video. So yeah, check out his stuff. I'll have his artwork displayed here with his name and the name of the song as well. He has links below that you could check out, some music videos over on his YouTube channel. So yeah, definitely check out his stuff if you like this. And let's see what we did during his mix. First off, we're just going to give it a listen, and then we'll jump in.
Hey, if I ain't got it, then I want it out. If I don't want it, then I find it out. Trying to see past the dark, like should be in your heart. Remember just who you are. Hey. Real talk, tell me if it's true. I'm in the game, but I never wanna lose. When I'm running full speed, all I wanna do is cruise, cruise. All I wanna do is cruise. And I love the ride, but this tide is so high, so high, so high. But who'll give a fuck? Real talk, tell me if it's true. I'm in the game, but I never wanna lose. When I'm running full speed, all I wanna do is cruise, cruise. All I wanna do is cruise. And I love the ride, but this tide is so high. But who'll give a fuck? Real talk, real talk.
Okay, so there it is. The song was well written. The hook is just huge when it builds up like that. There's so many harmonies going on, so it just sounds really big from the vocals themselves. And then I just panned them around and EQ'd them certain ways to get it to where it fits a little bit better. So I liked how it came out, and the artist was happy with how it came out. So let's jump in and see what we did. I'm going to show you on the main vocal, just break it down real quick. And then I'll show you why I use, I did some inactive plugins over here, and then I printed them onto new audio tracks. The whole CPU saver thing, so I'll get into that. So we started with the De-Esser. This is just to tame any sibilant coming through, S's, T's, anything like that. Very straightforward. We started with the frequency at 3,385, which means this is pretty much a De-Esser is a compressor for high frequencies. This is the cutoff right here. You set the frequency, so I put it at a little over 3K, and it's going to compress everything over 3K, and you'll see how much it attenuates or brings down right there. If you wanted to hear what it's doing only, then you hit sidechain and you could hear it. So let's press solo and listen to just the sidechain. So this is what's being taken out. All right, so that like high end squeaky sound that's going on in his voice, that's being taken out of his voice by the De-Esser. So if I put it back to audio, we could hear the signal that's affected.
Trying to see past the dark, like should be in your heart. Remember just who you are. Hey.
All right, so you can see I'm getting a little bit of attenuation there. It's not a whole lot going on. I could have hit it a little bit harder, but I like that crispy sound for this song. Next, we did the EQ. Now, EQ, my first EQ at least, this one I only used one EQ, but when I'm doing reductive EQing, what I'm doing is I always scoop out low end over here. And then I listen for the parts over here. So when EQing a vocal, for example, like this one, what I did to start was this one here, it's at -7 on 364 hertz. So when it started, it was flat. I bring the Q up, so it's really narrow. I go like this, I search around there till I find the spot, and then once I find it, I bring it back down, open the Q up, so bring the number down, and then adjust it to where it sounds good, so right around there. And then that's how I came up with EQing his vocal, getting out the frequencies that were sounding off. So that's it for the reductive EQ part. Now the compressor, let's press play and see what it's doing here.
Trying to see past the dark, like should be in your heart. Remember just who you are, ayy.
Okay, so you're just getting a little bit of reduction here, and I'm making up more than I'm reducing, so 4.7 dB going back in, and that's giving me a little bit of volume boost by doing that. The ratio I usually keep at 3:1 or 4:1, so this one's closer to 4:1. Attack, it's not right away, it's not at 0 or 1 or 2 milliseconds, it's at 11. Now I'm just giving it a little bit of time before the compressor kicks on, so it's not right when his vocal starts, it's not starting, it's 11 milliseconds after his vocal starts. This just lets the initial transient of his voice come through a little bit, so I don't completely kill the dynamics. There's times when you want to do faster attacks, there's times when you want to do a slower attack, just depends on the sound you're going for. Do you want that initial part of his voice to come through, or do you want it to be flatter, less dynamic by a faster attack? So it's up to you. My release is at 927 milliseconds, so that's almost the full second. It's just giving it time for the compressor to stay on a bit before it turns off. So that's all the release is. And then we could move on to the enhancer. This I use on some vocals, not on all, but I added quite a bit of high gain in here and some low gain as well. Let's take a listen before the enhancer and then after.
Trying to see past the dark, like should be in your heart.
And then after.
Remember just who you are, ayy.
So it's not a huge difference. It's just adding a little bit of harmonics to the high and low end. It's just making it a little bit more crunchy in there so it stands out in the mix. I don't do this on all songs, just on some vocals. So it just depends on the song. Up next, we're using the Waves tune. This is all you have to do to start is you set your root and your scale. So I played on my keyboard, listened to the beat, figured out the scale. It's in C sharp major. So then I was able to put that in here. And then my tuner is going to put the notes of his vocals only in that scale, so it matches the music. So figuring out the scale is a big part of tuning a vocal. And then you can see here, I didn't want, here, let's see, select. All right, so I left it at about the default 15 milliseconds on the speed and 120 on the note transition. I think it's like, well, if you see here, when I highlight some tracks, some of them are at 15 milliseconds on the speed and some are at 36 on the note transition. So there's notes in there that I was altering one by one. But that's it for the tuning. And then we have a reverb on here. And let's see which reverb. I believe it's this one. So it's the D-verb, and it's a plate. As you see from the bus, I'm sending minus 11.7 into the reverb unit. And I tend to stay around minus 10 to minus 12. Sometimes the vocals just sound like they have too much reverb, so I'll back it off to like minus 15. So that's usually what I set my reverb bus at, so it's being sent at that level. Then I do my adjustments here on the reverb itself. So 1.6 has been a favorite for a couple weeks now. I don't know what it is, but I just like that 1.6 decay right now. Pre-delay I usually keep around 5 milliseconds. Diffusion somewhere around the middle, and then my the cut right here, I usually keep it around like around 13K to about 11K, somewhere in there. And that's it for the reverb. So that's how we got those vocals. Let's go down here. Let me explain this whole inactive plugins to save CPU. Now, when you have a bunch of tuning plugins or any type of plugin that takes a lot of power, it's going to just start lagging your system. You're going to have errors come up saying that you need to increase your buffer size. Well, to increase your buffer size, playback engine up here, my buffer size is as high as it could go. So I had to start doing something different, and that is making plugins inactive. Now, I still wanted to have these plugins on the vocals, but I needed the CPU power. So a way around all of that is you do the plugins. Say I do this track here, I get it tuned up and everything's set. Then what I'm going to do is, you can see here's the audio right here. I'm sending the output to a bus, and because this is a mono track, I'm just doing a mono bus. I'm not doing the stereo like 47, 48. I would just do a single like 47. So I ended up going with 37 right here. And then on this audio track that I created right below it, I put the input as the same output as the one before. So bus 37 is my input. And then I go ahead, record, enable it, and then I press record. And it's going to print my new audio track here with the effects from this one. That way, I then have the audio track with all the effects that I wanted on it, and it's not going to take up any CPU by making those plugins inactive because it's printed onto the audio track. So I go in here, right click, and when it's active, it's like this. Right click on it, go to make inactive. Now, if you go to a plugin, you go to bypass, that does absolutely nothing for your CPU. It's going to still be lagging, and some people don't, they bypass everything and wonder why their computer's still lagging. It's because it's still using the plugin. What you have to do is go to make inactive, it grays it out like that, then your computer's no longer looking at that plugin for any information. It's as if it's not there. But it's easy to come back by going make active again. So that's what I do for a way around using CPU and still having my plugins set up there. I print the audio tracks and then I mute these ones out, make them inactive. And that's what I did for all kinds of things on here because this is a big session, a lot of stuff going in on this hook, and I needed a lot of CPU power. So yeah, that's what we did throughout this whole thing. And there's nothing special going on with his hook. It sounds really cool, but that's mostly the songwriting. He did a lot of harmonies and layers and all that stuff. So, for example, let's just start pressing solo and listening to what he did. I'll just start bringing stuff in as it plays. And this is the first track. And I'll press play and we'll just hear everything come through.
But I never wanna lose when I'm running full speed. All I wanna do is cruise, cruise. All I wanna do is cruise the ride. But this tide is so high. But who give a fuck?
Alright, so as you could hear, as I'm putting them in like that, it's all about songwriting, as well as having the panning set up. As you can see on here, the different panning of everything going around. With that many vocals, it's hard to get clarity. So what you have to do is really focus on panning, and if that doesn't work, then you can start EQing stuff different, making stuff maybe brighter at 4K on some of the vocals that you want to shine through, and then making some of the other vocals not as bright at 4K, so you do a little dip at those, make them maybe bright around 2K, so it's a little bit different frequency range. Now, that's just certain things you can do. Reverb, more reverb on some stuff you want further in the mix, less reverb on stuff you want forward in the mix. So it's all about where you want to place things. So that's what we came up with is this whole thing here. And yeah, that's about it for it. It's all just standard De-Esser, reductive EQing, compressor, enhancer, and then a tuner, and then some reverb. That's it for all these vocals. Then it's all about panning. Here's a little pan thing that I did up here. As you can hear on the main vocal right here, you'll hear it pan off a little bit to the left, to the right, to the center, and then to the left again.
Who you are, real talk, tell me if it's true. I'm in the game, but I never wanna lose. When I'm running full speed, all I wanna do is cruise, cruise. All I wanna do is cruise.
Alright, so you can hear it's moving around. It's going a little bit left, pretty far, not too far right, but a little bit to the right, center, and then to the left again. So that's something you do to have vocals not in the way of other things. You pan them around. yeah, and that's about it for everything. There's not a whole lot. I mean, a lot of the good part was the songwriting, the layers, the harmonies, all that. And then for me, it was just going through tuning everything, which took a while to tune everything, but just setting it in its right place to make it kind of fill in. So let's just take a look at the mastering chain, because I have updated my mastering chain since before. I like using this one here. This is a Slate Digital Revival plugin. It's free. Check it out at Slate's website. And this thing, I use it all the time for my mastering chain now. So I added a little bit of high end here on the shimmer, and I added some thickness on the low end. You could hear a lot in the beat, especially on the bass. So I'm going to press play. I'll bypass this and then put it back in. So here's without it.
Hey, if I ain't got it, then I want it out. If I don't want it, then I find it out. Trying to see past the dark, like should be in your heart. Remember just who you are. Hey. Real.
Okay. So you could hear when I turn it back on, there's more thickness to it. I happened to turn it right back on when a low end 808 was playing, but you can still hear it in the kick that it's a little bit thicker. So there's that. Then I just threw on a regular EQ with a little bit of high end here. I want it to really shine through. So I'm doing a bump around, let's see, what is that, 7K? And then just a regular compressor. This is a 3-to-1 ratio, a fairly fast attack and a fairly fast release, and then a 5 dB makeup gain. And then I like using this J37 tape emulator. So you can see what I'm using here. It's the Formula 815, speed 15. And then my last step in my mastering chain is a L1 ultra limiter or ultra maximizer. You could use the LL3 or whatever, the multiband, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff to choose from. This is a basic limiter with your quantizing, your dither, and everything. So I like that. A good setting to start with is 16-bit Final Master high resolution. That's because CD quality is 16-bit 44.1K. This is going to get you started in that going into the right format for CD. So that's going to be a WAV file when you bounce down. Yeah, and that's about it for that. Just in case anybody wants to know how I set things when I bounce it. So you select whatever you're going to bounce and then bounce to disk. It's always WAV, interleave, 16-bit, 44.1K on the sample rate, and then bounce. And that's it. If you're doing an MP3, then you just go ahead, MP3, keep this at 44.1, and then bounce. But if you want CD quality, you do the WAV. All right, so hopefully that gave you some insight, at least on what we did here during the mix, as well as what is going on when saving CPU, printing to a track, making a plugin inactive instead of bypassing, because there's a big difference as far as the computer power. So yeah, hope you guys got something from this, and go ahead, keep submitting. I'm going to try to keep up with this once every month now that the studio is just about done, and yeah, we'll go from there. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.